All right, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We're here to talk about master's life at Brown. We're specifically going to talk more about student life, career and professional development. So thank you so much for joining us. If we want to go to the next slide. We'll dive right in and talk about today's agenda. I have some excellent panelists with me today to talk about their areas of expertise. I just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. We'll be here talking in the presentation for about a half an hour. After the presentation, we will open it up to questions. Feel free to submit your questions to the Q&A as the session goes. We'll try to answer as much as we can. We have a couple folks on the call to help answer those questions. And then at the end, if we feel like the question will benefit the larger group, then we'll save that question for the end and answer it as a panel. So that being said, we can go to the next slide and start some introductions. My name is Victoria Bray. I am the Associate Director of Graduate Enrollment here at Brown, working specifically with our residential master's students. So if you have any questions about the application process, admission, enrollment, things like that, I will drop my contact info in the chat at some point during this session, and you can feel free to contact me. Kamal, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Komal Shah. I'm the Associate Director for Career Services and Professional Development, and I work with all of the master's students and professional students in terms of their career goals and career journey.
All right, and hello everyone. My name is Janae Victoria, and I am the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs for, again, all of our master's programs, which oversees a lot of student support as well as programming for all of our students here.
All right, fantastic. So we can go to the next slide, and we have a couple other team members that we wanted to sort of introduce you to who couldn't make it today, but we have a broad support network for our master's students here at Brown. You can see a couple more folks who are here to support you through career, student engagement, student affairs, and things like that. So definitely a really well-oriented team to assist all of our master's students. That being said, let's go to the next slide. I'll hand things over to Janae to talk more about student life.
All right, thank you. So here you can see just a very brief smattering of the types of events that we offer for our students. And really our goal through the Center of Master's Student Excellence is to help all of our students coming in create a sense of belonging, create a sense of community. So we have events that range from community service to some types of just social events where you can get to know each other, get to know your peers across programs, as well as different staff members that you may interact with throughout your time here. We also have some wellness classes, as you can see, community yoga that we run pretty regularly as well as some programs that are more identity specific. So we do collaborate with a lot of our colleagues across campus, including events for first gen students, students of color, international students, students who are parents as well. So really, if there's an identity that you hold, we hope to be able to celebrate that with you through, if not one of our events, an event that we collaborate with folks on campus. We can shift to the next slide. So again, really our goal here is to help you build community outside of the classroom. Within your programs, you're going to see a lot of the same faces, be it your faculty members, be it your classmates, but Brown is really such a broad community, and we encourage you to become an active part of that. And the easiest way to do that is attending events. So, go outside of your cohort, go outside of your program and get to know folks. You never know, there could be someone coming from the same state, the same country, that you can develop really close bonds with, but really just to begin to establish that network, that extensive Brown network, that family that you're joining. It really all starts at day one. So we have a number of orienting events, including all student orientation, all of these happen late August, right before the start of the semester. We also have international student orientation, which focuses on a lot of very specific information that our international students need to know. So that's typically hosted with our colleagues in the Office of International Support for Scholars, and really going over all of the documentation, processes and things like that, status requirements, and it's really important. So please attend. And last but not least, we also have our student of color orientation, excuse me, where folks can again learn about different resources that are available, but also begin to establish that sense of community and getting to know folks before the semester starts. And again, these are just some of the signature events, I'll say, that we host. We have a historically underrepresented group community dinner. There are newsletters that go out, meetups for different folks that are on campus. So please make sure that you're signing up for these newsletters, looking out for our newsletter that we send, and you can stay up to date on any of the events that are coming up. And we'll hit to the next slide. Now, outside of the Center for Master Student Excellence, there's also a number of centers on campus that you can establish community with. So we have and these are physical centers on campus. We have the Brown Center for Students of Color, the LGBTQ plus Center, excuse me, as well as the chaplain's office and several other centers on campus that really are focused on not just, some of them are specific to graduate students, but really just trying to unify students who have similar identities or being able to provide that social emotional support outside of the classroom. So again, we really encourage you to just get involved and see what's out there and see what might interest you. You never know who you might meet. All right, now we're going to shift gears a little bit and head into some student support. And student support can look a lot of different ways. There are a ton of different resources we have available on campus. So beyond the Center for the CMX, I'll call it, Center for Master Student Excellence, there are wellness resources for both mental health as well as physical health. So you'll see CAPS, Timely Care. Those are both resources available for our students to make sure that you're in a good mental space, or if you do have a pre-existing mental health condition, that you're able to continue care throughout your time here and just be as well as possible. We also have Be Well, which focuses more so on physical health, providing information as well as events to make sure that you are staying active, staying well, and taking care of yourself, because we know school is stressful. We also have accessibility services as well as some tutoring services available. And we can head to the next slide. All right, so in addition to some of these resources within the CMX, we also have some emergency funding available. So up to once a year, students can apply for an amount up to $500 where, sorry, give me one second. Where students can apply for assistance if they are experiencing any sort of emergency, or if there's an urgent need that really just wasn't anticipated. We know life happens and that's okay. We're here to assist you and make sure you have what you need to get through your time at Brown. In addition, beyond the CMX, we have some affiliates on campus that help with laptop repair, laptop loans, as well as some short-term emergency loans. We can head to the next slide. All right, and I'll end with this. So coming into grad school, there's a lot of information. You all will be very bright. We know this. There's a lot that you know, but it's a new institution for many students. So there's a new atmosphere, a new culture that you may not know, and that's okay. So I know I've mentioned a lot of different resources, a lot of centers on campus. We don't expect you to remember those from now until you get here. That's okay. But if you are facing a challenge throughout your time here and you're not sure where to go, you can always reach out. Whether it's myself or Dean Revel, we're happy to connect you with the appropriate resource on campus. And the easiest way to do that is to start by making an appointment. I know on our website, you can have access to my calendar, as well as if you just send me a quick email, and we can really figure out what it is specifically that you need and probably piece together a couple of different things to make sure that you are successful in your time here. And yeah, so with that, I will pass it to Kamal.
Great, thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about the career services and professional development programming that we offer. So if we go onto the next slide, I just wanted to throw it out there that if you've ever used career services before, or if you have not, a statistic out there is that students who do use career services are 24% more likely to get job offers. That is how important career services is in terms of either getting a job, or some of you might be interested in going into or applying for a PhD program after your master's degree, and career services helps you with that as well. So if we move on to the next slide, I can talk a little bit more about what we offer. So in terms of career support, we offer individual one-on-one coaching sessions for all students to help identify what type of jobs or industries would be the best fit for you. Not all, if you're planning to go into a data analyst position, you're probably thinking, oh, data analyst, I can apply anywhere. That might actually be a good thought, but it might not be in the best interest for your job application, because your application might need to be more tailored to the industry that you want to apply to. So we help with resume and cover letter review to help you assess whether or not your resume is really talking or showcasing all of your skills and qualifications for a specific industry. Through that, sometimes we find students who are confused about, the type of careers they could apply for. And in our individual one-on-one appointments, we go through some career advice in terms of career exploration. And we offer, if you have, gone through the resume and, submitted it, and you've now been offered to come in for an interview, we also help you prepare through mock interviews one-on-one with us. So we will prepare interview questions specific to the job description and then ask you questions. This is an hour-long session where you're actually going through an interview question practice, and you get feedback as well. Along with that, I wanted to share that we understand you're master's students and you're probably going to have a busy day. Some of you are also interning while you're taking classes, so you might have a busy 9 to 5. We do offer evening hours as well, and because we understand we need to be flexible to meet your needs. So we offer evening hours to be able to meet you, to address some of the concerns in terms of your job and internship search process. We host a number of workshops, and I'll talk through that in the next few slides. And so let's move on to the next slide to share a little bit about that. In terms of professional development, as I mentioned, we offer workshops. We also have a Career Launchpad course, which is a 2-day sprint course where we cover a lot of topics in terms of you being career ready. What that means is we understand a master's degree can be fast-paced. It might be a 1-year program or a 2-year program. And so you need to be ready to apply, especially some industries in terms of consulting or big tech firms or finance firms, banks. They hire very early in terms of the recruitment timeline. So we want you to be prepared and ready to submit your applications on time and not miss the deadline. So we have these courses and workshops in place to make sure you're ready, prepared for the specific type of interviews or applications you need to submit. We have some program-specific events or signature events. Today, we just had a mock career fair event because we have a career fair coming up. So these are some of our events that we host through the year. And I do want to mention that we also make sure we have some employer and alumni events as well to make sure you get an opportunity to network with these professionals in the field. If we move on to the next slide. We understand that networking is a very important factor in getting a job or internship. And so to help you with that networking process, we offer a professional development fund for up to $500 for students to support them in attending a conference or in terms of your travel needs, if you're flying to a conference or you need to reserve an Airbnb or a hotel for that conference, we will reimburse you up to $500 per academic year. So we've seen a lot of students take advantage of this, especially because we understand how relevant it is for you to be involved and engaged with your industry professionals as well. So we'll go on to the next slide to give you some examples of the type of workshops we offer. As you can see, there's a lot that we do. We have specific industry-specific events like consulting. We have general workshops in terms of interview prep, LinkedIn strategies, job search strategies. For mid-career professionals, if you're looking to change your career, we help you, or we have programs related to that. We have, as I mentioned, if you're applying for a PhD application, we will help you prepare for writing a PhD CV or a statement of purpose and have a workshop around that. I do know we do see a lot of international students, and we have a specific event for international students, although all of our workshops integrate a lot of examples for international students. We have specific job search in the US workshop that will cover more specific questions related to sponsorship and work eligibility and OPT and CPT and all of those details that you would need to know to be able to work in the US. And as we all know in this world, that AI is the buzzword everywhere. And so we want to make sure you're also up to date with those tools and technologies that are being used not just at school, but professionally as well. So we will help you go through some of those AI tools and let you know about what's out there in terms of tools you can use for your own career development. Let's move on to the next slide. Finally, I want to just share our website here with you. A lot of our resources out there and open for you to use. If you scan the QR code, you can browse and visit our website. There are some events and workshops or videos that you might not get access to since you do need a Brown University ID, but most of our resources are available to everyone. So feel free to browse through this during your free time. And I'm gonna share a link in the chat box for you as well. That's it. And I think I'll pass it on to Victoria. That's all I have in terms of slides.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit more about housing and living in Providence, since that's such a crucial part of your experience as a master's student at Brown. Shout out, we'll have additional sessions about living in Providence and other topics coming up, and we'll share the registration details from that in the chat at the end of the session. But if we want to go to the next slide, I just want to sort of ground us in our location. So you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is a map of Providence, and Providence is sort of broken up into a number of different neighborhoods that make us seem a lot larger than we actually are. Providence is a pretty small, manageable city, easy to get around. Brown specifically is located in sort of the College Hill area with a footprint that extends a lot wider than just College Hill. So we're in multiple areas of Providence, and we have a pretty wide footprint in the Jewelry District as well, which is just a 15-minute walk up to College Hill, where you'll have a lot of classes. That's where the student center is and things like that. So you can see the average rents for each of the different neighborhoods that we find students generally like to live in to the left-hand side of the screen. Keep in mind that these are average rents for a 2-bedroom apartment. So in theory, you would be sharing the cost of the living with a roommate. We definitely encourage that as much as you can. But this is just to sort of ground us in an average. That being said, averages are averages, right? Depending on what you specifically need out of your living situation, you might be able to find something that's less expensive. You might want something more expensive. These are just to sort of get us into that average. If we want to go to the next slide. We do offer housing, a limited amount of housing to our master's students. There are a couple of different ways that you can apply for Brown affiliated housing. Brown has apartments that we own and lease out to students. That application will open in the spring. It's only open to matriculated students. So if you apply and you're admitted, you would need to matriculate at Brown in order to be eligible to apply for that housing. Housing is less expensive through Brown than it might be in the market, depending on, again, what you're looking for in the marketplace. And you would be billed through Brown for that housing. So that's really convenient as well. If we want to go to the next slide. There's also an apartment building that Brown owns called River House. And this apartment building is in the Jewelry District, which is near the medical school, the School of Public Health. The group that we all work in, the Division of Master's Programs, is also hosted in the Jewelry District. But it's a building that's specifically for housing graduate students, PhD students, medical students, and master's students. You can see the average rents for last year on the screen in front of you now. But that being said, it's a really great location. There's a restaurant in the building. It's in the middle of a really great part of Providence on the river. So definitely a great option. I just want to stress, though, that housing is limited. So there's also a lot of people who choose to live off campus for housing or live in non-Brown affiliated housing, because Brown affiliated housing is somewhat limited. So my tip for you, your prospective students, right, when you apply and you're admitted, keep that in mind. And we'll talk about this throughout your process of applying to Brown. So if we want to go to the next slide, talk a little bit more about things to do in the area. Providence is a small city, but it's an incredibly vibrant city. So we're considered the arts capital of New England. We have a number of museums. We have an art school. So there's really a lot in the way of creativity that happens in the city. Thayer Street sort of runs through Brown. That's that sort of famous street that runs through Brown's main part of campus. But there's definitely a lot of other places in Providence that you can visit that are great depending on what you're interested in. If you like the outdoors, we have parks. If you want to go a little further afield, there's a state park that's not that far from here. There's also entertainment. The Providence Performing Arts Center is a great venue if you want to see concerts, shows, things like that. Sports in the area, there's really quite a bit to do. Specifically affiliated with Brown, though, as a graduate student, you can be a member of the Grad Center Bar, which a lot of students like to take advantage of to meet up with one another and socialize. You can also go to our sports events and be a proud supporter of Brown sports as we compete in the Ivy League. And then there's, events at Brown, which is really, if you want to get an idea of on any given day what's going on Brown's campus, I would definitely push you to look at events at Brown so you can sort of see, if you were a student, how would you craft your day and what would you participate in, get an idea if you feel sort of represented in that area. So if we want to go to the next slide. Pretty easy to get around as well, as I was saying earlier, very walkable city. If you have a car, very drivable area as well. As a Brown student, you get free ridership on the Rhode Island Public Transportation Authority buses, which is really convenient to get around. On Brown's campus, we also have a shuttle system. So if you were to live in the Jewelry District, that shuttle would take you up to College Hill and back and around the area, and that's available at night as well. If you're looking to get around New England and sort of further away, getting home for breaks and things like that, the closest airport is TF Green. That's Rhode Island's airport. The largest regional airport is Logan Airport, but we're also serviced by Amtrak and the MBTA. If you just want to go to Boston or New York for the weekend, or DC, that's also really common for students to do who want to explore the Northeast a little bit more. Providence is really well located kind of in the center of the Northeast to be able to get to a lot of different places. So if we want to go to the next slide, I want to encourage folks to ask questions in the Q&A. That's going to be the best way to get in front of us with questions. We'll go through the Q&A, answering those as best we can. We'll answer some of them out loud, but keep on adding questions there. And so if we want to go to the next slide, we got some contact information. Definitely be in contact with us. I will drop some contact information in the chat for folks who are interested. But other than that, I think we can go ahead and start answering some questions out loud. And the first question that I have specifically for Janae is about graduate family housing for students with children. How do we support families trying to find housing?
Sure. So we don't have specific housing for parenting students. As Victoria mentioned a couple slides ago, housing for our grad students is very limited. So typically our students who are parenting, I would say 10 times out of 10, usually live off campus. There are a couple of groups available online for students looking for different apartment type things, or if someone's lease is coming up and their landlord is looking to fill that space, there are those communities available online as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. One of the most common questions we're getting through the chat that I really want to address on the top end is about funding and working on campus. So the question being, what programs offer scholarships? Are there graduate teaching assistantships or research assistantships available? And can students work on campus? So I'll answer the first part of the question about the scholarships. Your scholarship's really going to depend on your program. The amount that a program can offer, if they all offer scholarships, is going to be very program specific. So I would encourage you to check out our master's website, which is, the link is in the chat. Thank you, Kamal, for putting that in there, and look at your specific program. I'd also encourage you to attend a program specific information session, because we're going to cover that really in detail in those information sessions. In terms of funding is going to be incredibly limited. Even if a program offers a scholarship, offers funding, that funding is going to be very limited. When we talk about teaching assistantships and we talk about research assistantships, those aren't fully funded stipended positions. That would be paid on an hourly rate. You would apply for that position once you're at Brown, and you would be paid your hourly rate. It wouldn't make it so you didn't pay tuition, if that makes sense. Anything you folks want to add in terms of like funding and being on campus, applying for jobs?
I could add maybe in terms of applying for jobs on campus, the earlier you apply, the more success you will have in landing a job on campus. And that would mean, applying for various different things. It could be working with dining services, could be working as a graduate student assistant, could be working with events and event management. It could be multiple different things. And so I would say many of these positions are posted on our Workday portal, and many of these are also shared through the GS Notice listserv, which is the graduate student listserv. And so we encourage students to be part of that listserv early on, so that you get to know or learn more about what opportunities are available. And then in terms of research assistantship, sometimes you could ask, I don't know if this is always a guarantee, but sometimes PhD students who are currently working on research might be looking for some assistance. And so you could approach professors, but also PhD students who are looking for some research help. So that is a good strategy to use for searching for research positions.
Fantastic. That is super helpful. A couple questions about requirements for international students through the application process, which I can take. We don't have specific application requirements for international students generally. I will say, though, that if you do not speak English as your native language and you don't have a degree from an institution where English is the language of instruction, we would need you to submit English language proficiency exams, either the TOEFL or the IELTS, but that isn't tied to you being an international student necessarily. It really is based off of your English language training. We don't require a WES evaluation or a credential evaluation upon application unless you're applying for a program in the School of Public Health. However, for the rest of the residential master's programs, if you are admitted and you do matriculate into the program, then we would require you to send your final official transcripts as well as a credential evaluation as a part of that matriculation, but not when you apply. Holly, what is your favorite thing to do in the area? I think generally let's talk about what our favorite things to do in the area are.
Yeah, I was really thinking about I I think that I would probably say anything outside. Providence is a really kind of nature-friendly area, so there's not just like one giant park. There's Lincoln Woods just kind of north of the city, and a lot of really just quiet places to walk. So I'll say being outside. It's one of the most outdoor-friendly cities that I've lived in.
Fantastic. I like to go to the beach personally. We're the ocean state, so I think it's a great opportunity to go to the ocean, do some shoreline activities, have a classic New England experience. Komal and Janae, what are your favorite places on campus?
Ooh, I have a lot of favorite places to be honest, but let me pick one. So I'm a foodie and I'm still pretty new to Brown, and so I like to kind of experiment all of the different restaurants we have on campus. I know that we have a really great Korean place. We have a really good falafel Mediterranean place. We have a really nice taco place. I know Victoria, you like that place too. It's called Saka Taco. You love that place. So yeah, I think the restaurants here within Providence are really good if you're interested in just exploring the food scene in Providence.
Yeah, my whole team is a huge fan of Zaco Taco. That's what we're well known for, I think, at SBS.
I don't know. For me, I think it's more so the architecture. Just if walking around College Hill area, I'll say my undergraduate experience was pretty small. So I love seeing kind of the urban landscaping, but then just the really old buildings and there's faculty, there's staff that have campus housing, and just to kind of see the structure, it's really fascinating to me. So doing a little foot tour is pretty cool, pretty beautiful, especially when the leaves start to change. So excited for that.
Yeah, fall's right around the corner and campus is gonna look like Kamal's background. Lots of questions about the visa process for international students. And I think just like I'll answer broadly, the visa process is going to be very individual, very case by case. We have an office we work with at Brown who are experts in student visas, the Office of International Students and Scholar Services. And they do a great job of coordinating visas, I-20s with our students. We work really closely with them. But that being said, if you have any questions about the visa process or your individual circumstances, you're definitely welcome to email us, masters_admissions@brown.edu, so that we can dig a little bit deeper into your questions. But that being said, some of those questions are going to be answered at the time that you're admitted. Somebody asking for clarification when I'm talking about credential evaluation. A credential evaluation is, if you're familiar with WES, that's what WES does. They look at your university transcripts from your degree program, from wherever you did your undergraduate coursework, and they translate that coursework if necessarily into a US system. What is the weather like? Right now, it's fantastic. It is the best time of year. It's, it gets cold. I will say that Rhode Island is very temperate compared to other places in New England. If you're thinking about New England and you're from farther afield, you might be familiar with like the snowiest places in New England, and it gets really cold in the winter. That's northern New England. It snows in the winter for sure. It gets cold. You need a good pair of boots. You need a good winter coat as well, a rain jacket, definitely. That being said, though, I personally don't think that it is unbearably cold. That being said, I hail from Vermont most recently, so that might not be the best barometer of cold. Do you guys want to weigh in on the weather?
I will jump in. I'm from a very warm and hot climate from India. And so initially when I moved to New England, it was an adjustment in terms of knowing how to layer your coats in terms of your sweater. But I agree. I think the New England weather is beautiful because you get to see all four seasons. You get to see the fall, winter, spring, and summer, and those transitions are beautiful, and the seasons are really beautiful as well. So I would definitely agree, like coming from a hot climate, having a really snowy experience is something I love. I love the cold and the winter. So um, it's really beautiful when you have fresh snow on the ground.
Definitely. How many libraries are there? I'm not sure. We're gonna have to, I think, follow up with how many libraries there are. Yeah, definitely at least two. Um, what about the programming at Brown would you say best sets it apart from other universities? That's a great question. I'll say that I have never worked at or seen another university that treats master's students so individually. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that for this constituency sets Brown apart. The idea that we have a whole group of folks on this call whose sole job is to work with and service our master's students is really different than what I've seen at other institutions. Kamal and Janae, do you want to sort of expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can start off. I 100% agree. I think our mission as the Center for Master's Excellence is really to set ourselves apart from the pack and be a destination for master students. And part of that is our programming, being very intentional and creating spaces and creating programs that are specific to you and your needs and your journey. You know, if you all can think back to maybe freshman year of undergrad, you're probably not the same person that you were or don't have the same needs that you did back then. So really just being intentional in how we're bringing you all together, the types of information or speakers that we're bringing in to engage you. It's a bit more elevated, I'll say, to where you are in your journey, as well as what you're hoping to do beyond Brown.
I would just add that I echo everything Janae said in terms of master's programs. We understand that this is a diverse population, some coming in with, directly from undergrad, some coming with a few 2 or 3 years of experience, and then coming into a master's program. And some of you might have more like 6, 7, or maybe 10 years of experience and now looking to come back for a master's degree. And so our programming, we want to make sure that we are addressing all of your needs, and our like advising is so individualized that students get a lot from those conversations, individual conversations. We like to get to know you and your goals. Might that be personal or professional? We want to make sure that you're successful in life. So I think our programming is very centered around you and how we want to see you flourish in your life. So yeah, I would say it's very centered around master's students.
How would you describe the culture on campus? I find that Brown has a very, in terms of academics, is very open. It's very choose your own adventure. And I think that that really spills through into a lot of different aspects of Brown. We treat students as individuals, not conglomerates. We know that students are coming from different backgrounds, from different places, and we treat them sort of as individuals and let them create and craft an individual journey whether they're undergraduates, master's students, PhD students. I think that culture is really pervasive through Brown. Had a couple questions about student activities and sports, and can we join clubs and activities? And I'll just echo, the graduate student council opportunity to folks. That's really the central resource for students in terms of like student facing and student sponsored activities. They're also a really great advocate for our graduate students on campus. Our master's students can join club sports, they can join club activities. They do tend to as well. I've heard of a number of our master's students who've really enjoyed participating in Ultimate Frisbee and other such clubs and activities. So definitely open. I think that there's this idea that clubs and activities are only open to undergraduate students, and that's certainly not the case at Brown. Do you folks know about any other particular clubs that students have joined? Besides, Ultimate Frisbee just popped into my head because I know there's a bunch of master's students who are in that club.
I want to highlight the grad consulting club because I meet with a lot of students who are interested in going into consulting. And so I know that the grad consulting club, it's open for masters and PhD. So I think that's great because you're learning from PhD students as well. But they do a lot of good stuff in terms of practicing case interviews. They invite consulting companies to come to campus and have events and info sessions with them. So I think they're very engaged with masters and PhD students. I think the grad consulting club is one that comes to mind.
Fantastic. What would you say are 3 qualities that describe the student body or average Brown student? I'm going to go with entrepreneurial. What else?
I'd say thinkers, doers, like they think about an idea and act on it.
I like that. Definitely go-getters for sure.
Yeah, Brown students really know how to chart their own path and advocate for themselves in a really great way. Alrighty. A question about transitioning from master's to a PhD. That is, you can't just transfer into a PhD program. You would have to apply among all of the other PhD prospects who are looking to join that program. But that is a path for a number of our students. Kamal, do you want to weigh in a little bit more on that process?
Yeah, absolutely. We do see a number of master's students who are interested in continuing at Brown through a PhD program. Many of them are looking to pursue a PhD because they've probably started a research with their professor during their master's degree and are now looking to continue that research. And so usually it's great that they've already built that relationship with the professor. So it kind of is a bonus for them to show the professor that, hey, look, I've already started working on this, and this may be something I could complete through my PhD. And so I wouldn't say it's a guarantee though, because there are so many other things the professors or the admissions committee needs to consider in terms of a PhD candidate. So I think it's a really good entry point. Show that you're a really great student and researcher, and that actually makes your case for a PhD candidacy.
Fantastic. And we have those master specific resources, right? So super helpful in that process. Is there an alumni community for Brown graduate program graduates? Kamal, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I will say this Monday we launched an improved. We already had an alumni database that students could go to and just reach out to an alumni who's graduated from Brown for many years. But this Monday we launched Brown Connect Plus, which is an improved way of connecting with Brown University alumni. This includes, if if alumni are posting or interested in connecting with you to mentor you, or if you're interested in getting mentored by an alum, that's a great portal and database to use to connect with alumni. That portal also has community groups. So for now, I think there's a few community groups that are built out in terms of affiliations. There is one group that is grad focused. So if you are interested in, just connecting and becoming a part of this group, you do need to enroll within, again, it's part of Brown University. You need to use your Brown University ID, and you become a part of this group, and you can engage with multiple different alumni. So Brown Connect Plus is really great because alumni can post their jobs that they're looking to fill, because alumni are now professionals in the world. They own companies or are working at companies that they're looking to grow. And so that's a really great place to connect with multiple different alumni in different industries.
Fantastic. Would you describe the academic environment as more competitive or cooperative? I feel like cooperative based off of what I see in our building. Our building is welcome to graduate students to come and study in, and I see them posted up in groups working together on problem sets. It's super common to see groups of 5 or 6 students all hold up in a room together, doing their homework, doing projects together, working on group work and things like that. So I am definitely seeing students cooperate and collaborate with one another much more than I see them feel in competition with one another. How would you describe the academic faculty at Brown and the work that they do, research organizations they're a part of? I mean, our faculty are top-notch. They're world-class. They're incredible teachers and researchers. The faculty that I work with are very engaged with their current students. They're very engaged with their advisees. Kamal and Janae, I know you work really closely with the departments. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience collaborating with them?
Honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head with the word engaged, both in their research and their studies, but then also caring about our students. So again, a lot of the work that I do has to do with direct student support. So making sure that you are okay. We know that if you're beyond stressed out, or if there's things going on outside of the classroom, you're not going to do your best academically. And they're very mindful of that. If things change, or if they're noticing something may be off, to either engage with you directly or to connect with me and have me reach out. And it's been a great relationship.
I will add, I have seen firsthand how even leaders of some of these colleges will advocate for an individual student. So I can give an example where we had one of the students who got a co-op opportunity for at a particular organization, and the recruiter needed some eligibility criteria clarified, and the academic director was ready to jump on a call with the recruiter, jump on a call with us, jump on a call with the international student office, because the student was international, to make sure that co-op was possible for that student. So I will say they are invested in your academic journey and then professional journey as well. And they want to make sure it's you're supported holistically, not just like in one way. You're getting support from a lot of different, I would say, offices in terms of your specific needs.
Wonderful. There's a lot of program-specific questions in here, so I'm just going to en masse sort of let everybody know. Our programs offer program-specific information sessions to talk more about scholarships, curriculum, outcomes for students. So if you're interested in like particular companies that students have gone on to work with or do co-ops with, we'll cover that in all of our program-specific specific information sessions, which we've linked to in the chat, the landing page where you can see not just all of the events that we're running like these, but also the events that are specifically geared towards our programs. Do you have excellent health facilities within and outside of campus? We have a stellar gym, if that's the type of health facility that we're talking about. If we're talking about healthcare, we do have a medical school, so we're really well oriented in Providence among a lot of healthcare facilities. But we have Ivy League sports teams, so our facilities, I think, are commensurate with the level of athletics that we are competing at.
I'll also add, in terms of healthcare medical facilities, we have a full functioning university health services. So they almost act as if a primary care office. If you have anything from a cold to maybe you've bumped or fell on something the wrong way and you're not sure if you need elevated medical attention, they can assess. They are fully licensed physicians and can provide referrals as well if you do need extensive care beyond their abilities.
Couple questions about like average age of master's students. Am I too old to be a master's student? You're definitely not too old to be a master's student. Our students really run the gamut depending on, where you're at in your career. Are you a career changer? A lot of our programs are really welcoming of career changers. I would definitely encourage you in your application to talk about that. Talk about, what your journey has been and why you're looking for a program now. I would recommend that to anybody who's applying for one of our master's programs. Our average age is skewed somewhere in the 20s. That being said, we have students who are, well advanced in their careers, looking for a master's degree because they want to move up to that next level, or we have folks who are interested in changing careers entirely and looking to skill up in certain areas. So it really depends on your individual journey, and definitely not too old again. Sorry, I'm just working through some questions. I'll talk about sort of research opportunities more broadly, a student specifically asking about for engineering and computing students, but that's really going to be dependent on your department and how sort of tenacious you are and interested you are in doing research. Programs will support you in that endeavor as much as they can, as much as, that opportunity exists within the department. Folks need help with research, and there are positions available. It's really common for our master's students to participate in research. So I wouldn't be concerned about that necessarily, but it's really going to depend on specifically what you want to do. If there's somebody at Brown in a group that you're really interested in working with after you're admitted, after you matriculate, you'd be able to reach out to that person and sort of start that conversation. Couple questions about the required GPA for our master's programs. There isn't necessarily a required GPA. By and large, our programs do have a floor of a 3.0 GPA. That being said, we consider students on a case-by-case basis, and we have a holistic review process. So we don't have an average of GPA for our admitted students that we publish publicly because we do look at each student holistically. What is their academic record look like? Do you trend up in your grades? Do you trend down in your grades? Are you beating prerequisite course requirements? You could have a 4.0 GPA, but if you don't have that academic background to be successful in the program, then that's not going to be super helpful as a metric for you in terms of whether or not you feel like you're admissible and prepared for that program. So it's really based off of a preponderance of factors. So I'd really pay attention to, yes, Brown is a highly selective institution, but and our students have high GPAs coming in, but that's not the whole story. And a lot of our students come from a variety of different backgrounds. If you're out of school for a really long time, you have really excellent professional experience, and that'll weigh heavily in your application. If you had family situations come up while you were in your undergraduate program, that's something that we'd consider as a part of your application as well. So, I'd be in touch with us if you have any specific questions about that, but I wouldn't let a minimum GPA necessarily concern you. I would concern yourself with the whole process and putting together a really great application that talks not only about your academic success, but also where you see yourself and where you see yourself using your master's degree and how Brown can specifically help you reach your goals. What is nightlife like at or near Brown's campus? There's a ton to do at night. You know, we're a city, right? So we have all of the things that you would expect a city to have in terms of nightlife, concerts, sporting events, shows. There's really all kinds of stuff going on in the area. There's the Grad Center bar that we talked about earlier for Brown students to go to. But it really sort of depends on what you're interested in. That's one thing that I encourage every applicant to look at is, you know, look at Providence and see, do you have a hobby? Is there an activity that you always participate in that you want to continue with through your graduate program? You know, you're a student, of course, first, but you exist outside of the classroom as well. So making sure that Providence has what you're looking for is definitely important. Alrighty. So that's it for sort of more general questions. I want to thank our panelists so much for attending and answering all the great questions that our prospective students asked. We've shared our email address, masters_admission, in the chat. I'll share it one more time just in case. Definitely be in contact with us if you have any questions. We can put you in contact with your program, send you links to information sessions to register, answer any additional questions that you might have. But that being said, if the panelists want to go ahead and take off, then I will answer all of the sort of one-off questions that are left in the Q&A, and we'll leave you there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.
All right, fantastic, everybody. That's all our questions. Thanks so much for joining us, and don't hesitate to be in touch if you need anything else.